An ode to the Emergency Procedures Resource Guide hanging in the Planned Parenthood Clinic. The silent tension of patience, of waiting for lidocaine numbness. I am in the exam room at the clinic closest to my apartment. A sidelong glance to the wall reveals an emergency procedures guide. It hangs on a command hook, swaying with the heavy door closing behind the doctor. A month into my museum job, I learned emergency procedures, tornado and fire, and active shooter. Survival is a reflex this clinic does not test, but I want to know the guidelines here. I want to know where the closest exit is, like when we both checked for the red sign at the gay bar when we went out last weekend. I want to know if they suggest dark silence, if they instruct writing a last will and testament on the back of a movie ticket, ducking low even when the noise is only a summer firework. I want to know if the woman outside this clinic, with cruel eyes and a graphic pamphlet, likes to hunt. If she speaks words that mean and spiteful, even at church. If she has a son, she is teaching all about God and meanness and setting traps and waiting in the silent tension of patience for the doe to reach his crosshairs. The doctor asks if I have any questions before she begins, and I think yes. Have you grown a stutter around angry men too? How many of your fingerprints are grease stains on the laminate of that hanging guide? She preps me for procedure and I'm quiet, but I want to tell her that I work in a place filled with children's echoing laughter, the background music to a good sunny day, and sometimes I go in with the dread of knowing I died in another dimension today, in another blackout window room, holding someone tight so we feel less alone. Once more, any questions before we begin? Did you also think it was strange the first time? The first day that you knew science and medicine and play and all your days hereafter are battlegrounds when you never intended to be a soldier. The question. This man, who could climb with shaking sadness like a ladder to the moon, asks me, where did you come from? The question is posed face up, hands connected on the sheets. I do not ask it back because I know where he came from. The outskirts of a city a riverbank away, the tall walled house with a dirty kitchen and clean floors. He came from a cloud-filled bottle, a smoke-filled room. He came from a heavy dream and a heavier heartbreak. He came from a love song someone never finished playing and a poem I write too often. He asks again, and I respond as best as truth will let me. Where did you come from? Sprung, fully formed from the thigh of Zeus, like cow-eyed Athena. Where did you come from? A house in the suburbs with ducks for neighbors and sticks for swords. Where did you come from? The arms of too many people with too few hours to spare. Where did you come from? Dredged from the lake like Excalibur, like a shipwreck like weeds. Where did you come from? The part of you that used to wish for snow days.
Not even 4 minutes in.
All right, this is my last one. The Old Guard. The Old Guard is dead, by which I mean all their mothering and clucking is past tense, which I suppose if you wanted to leave the house tonight, you could. They're not going to stop you or check your breath for Brandy Alexander's when you get home late. The Old Guard is dead, by which I mean the bridge games are not played anymore, except the one that my dad got on home video. And the stories are not really told by one person, but by 5 people all talking over each other who don't remember the same parts of the story, and they're all still kind of shouting at each other what the story ought to have been. And the Old Guard is dead, by which I mean a visit is to the cemetery. And the cemetery is actually the living room where my auntie used to host Passover Seder. And then the relatives are in town, by which I mean lunch happens between visiting the grave and digging a new one. The Old Guard is dead, by which I mean I draw the family tree with pen on a paper towel before everyone comes over. Because I don't remember who is who, and I don't have the faces of the Old Guard with me memorized anymore to categorize their children, and I don't have the years of together the Old Guard used to stand at attention for. I just have the past tense. The Old Guard died. We are what they guarded. I'm what is left. Thank you, everyone.